got to keep in mind that one of the things God is trying to do is give you a personal experience that helps you to be in God's presence.
Yes, sir.
Because if you can get into God's presence, you can appreciate God's character and you can see God's plan for your life.
Well,
those of you who like to read, I suggest a book entitled Disappointment with God by Philip Yancey. In case you don't know it, there are some folk in our churches who are shaking a fist of rebellion against God, who are blaming God, who are disappointed with God, who are turned off from God because of things that they think God has done to them.
well,
Let's get back to Elijah. I think there are some factors that play into Elijah's depression. First of all, Elijah was not thinking realistically or clearly. When you are depressed, you don't think like you ought to.
well,
You don't see like you should. Elijah, instead of calling on God, when Jezebel made the threat, he starts running.
right,
Like a lot of us, when stress enters our lives, we forget to stop and pray in the midst of our
well,
say amen when you can.
amen.
Number two, Elijah had separated himself from the people who could support and help him. Often when we're discouraged, we try to get by ourselves.
Right,
But you need to remember, depression feeds on your being by yourself.
well,
It feeds on your loneliness. And it damages your ability to think clearly because you've isolated yourself from people that can help you.
well,
Number three, Elijah was caught in depression right after his greatest victory. It was almost like after Mount Carmel, what else is there out there for me?
right,
It's kind of like after we finish this $2 and $3 million building, what else is left for me? You sure ain't gonna get no salary because your church can't pay the mortgage and the preacher at the same time.
well,
Depression sets in. Number four, Elijah was physically and emotionally exhausted.
right,
Preachers, I want to tell you something. When you try to do everything by yourself, when you try to run everything by yourself, you're sooner or later going to be physically and emotionally exhausted.
right,
Now I want you to think about this now. Here's a man that outran a chariot and then got 100 miles away from Jezreel to Beersheba the next day. And then went deeper into the desert the same day. The man's tired. He's drained. He is exhausted. When you are that emotionally and physically tired, you are susceptible to depression.
well,
Last point here. Elijah submitted himself to self-pity.
well,
I'm all out here by myself.
well,
Ain't nobody else out here. Nobody else is serving the Lord. Nobody's trying to live right. I'm all by myself.
well,
Now we got folks in our churches, every now and then they come forward on Sunday and they say, nobody understands what I'm going through.
Yes, sir.
Well, nobody will ever understand what you're going through if you don't tell nobody what you're going through.
right,
If you are by yourself and isolated from saints and friends, no, we don't know what you're going through. But if you are willing to get yourself a support group, you will find out that other folk know exactly
What you going to do?
what you're talking about.
yes, sir,
And they know exactly what you're going